All right, speaking of jury selection, everybody was supposed to look at the jury questions from the case one that y'all were all involved in for at least a little part of it, and narrow down, tell me what y'all don't need anymore, what you think is, you know, irrelevant, if there was anything that you wanted added. Y'all were supposed to have provided those to me by now. I've gotten a very, very short proposed questionnaire from the state. And is it accurate that that is all that the state wants asked?
That is all, yes. That's
okay. And I've gotten nothing from any of the defendants.
Judge, my position on the questionnaire is that the original questionnaire was more than sufficient. I didn't really see a need for any additional questions. To the extent that any of the questions in there were no longer relevant to particular defendants, those would be struck. But otherwise, the format of that, I think, was necessary and sufficient in the case of this magnitude.
Okay, so I'm not sure that we're going to do anything that lengthy. What I envision is potentially having the potential jurors come in and do on kind of a tablet, which we now have newly available from jury services, a series of questions that would be kind of the preliminary things we ask the whole group, and then let y'all follow up as necessary, but after you get the answers. And so the format may change a little bit with regard to exactly how that gets asked. But if nobody has anything new to propose and nothing you particularly want stricken, unless it's, of course, you know, not relevant to a particular defendant, I'll just take a closer look at everything and come up with something that I think is appropriate. And then what is our best time estimate for the trial length at this point?
just in about the caution, I'll stick with the 90 days.
90 days, okay.
But I think it's going to be
Okay.
90 days. I think your prediction of 6 weeks may come true.
Okay. All right. All right. And the jury that eventually was the jury in the last case was sat from the first, 300 or 400 jurors? 400?
No, 500.
500? All right. So and that at the time was projected to be a 6-month trial. So if we're talking about a 3-month trial, I cannot imagine we're going to need to pull in more than, I'm thinking 400 jurors at most ought to get us what we need.
The state agrees, Your Honor.
Okay. Anybody on the defense side disagree with that?
No objection, Judge.
Okay. All right. And I mean, obviously, y'all don't need to make a decision at this point in time about whether you wanted to present a defense case or not. But if I say 3 months at the longest, do y'all feel like that's reasonable?
Yes, Mr. Garlington.
Okay.
Yes, for Mr. Eppinger. Your
Okay.
Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Well, I think, Mr. Dark, maybe if you and I want to get together on what kind of funds you need,
Ladies and gentlemen,
but you're going to have to
Chaplain
get
Green.
moving, because at this point, I am not moving our start date for our trial.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
please
Please
Your Honor,
bow
with
me
respect
as I
to
pray God's
what I had
blessings
was a
upon
proposed
this
trial
ceremony
date of
to
February
farewell.
24th.
That's right.
I did file leave and I sent it to your chambers as well as the state. And that is inclusive until the 28th. So I would just ask for a start date.
So knowing that we were going to specially set this trial for February 24th, you recently filed requesting a leave during that time?
No, Your Honor, I sent that on, I think, December 4th or December 6th.
Did you say anything to me about that leave when we were here in December?
No, Your Honor, I sent it to Ms. Rosser. I sent it to Mr. Abadi.
But you didn't bother to say to the judge during the time we were discussing a potential start date, Judge, I've got to leave in?
Your Honor, we didn't have a date at that time. I don't think we discussed a date at that time, but if we did, I apologize. But yes, I did send it to your chambers and I did send it to the prosecutor.
But while we were here in court, you didn't say anything about it. You didn't. Y'all communicate with the court as much in advance as you possibly can about any potential issues. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm much more likely to be understanding about things if I know beforehand what I'm dealing with.
And Your Honor, with respect to that, whenever we speak about the funding, I will address another issue, but I would just rather
Okay.
address that directly.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor. Just wanted some clarification from the court. So, and this goes as far as other cases that I may have. I know I have other cases that are coming up for trial. Some of them are older than this case. Should I consider this case especially set for February 24th?
Well, I don't know, because apparently we've got an attorney with a leave covers through that date. So I don't know. I'll have to look at his leave. And then anybody else with any leaves already filed that I need to know about when I'm trying to decide on a date.
No, Judge.
No,
All right.
no leave, Your Honor.
Okay, let me ask y'all this, just terms of kind of procedurally speaking. If we do the tablets with just, the jurors are sitting there filling it out on their own. I know Judge Cox had done a pilot of that in what was going to be a multi-defendant gang case that he had. Everybody ended up pleading before they got very far. But what everyone had agreed to in that case, and what I'd like to propose and see what people think about for this case, is they agreed to first a kind of summary of this is generally what this case is about, instead of a reading of the full indictment prior to the tablet, what used to be kind of the written questionnaire portion of the trial. Could we think about something like that and potentially agree on that? And then second, there was a videotape of the judge basically saying, the very preliminary things the judge always says, this is a criminal case, here are your basic instructions, answer everything honestly. And I think the jury services people were there, and maybe the judge's staff attorney was there, but the judge wasn't there, the attorneys weren't, for either side weren't there, the defendants weren't there. It was just kind of as though we mailed it out and they filled it out at their home. We wouldn't have been there. Does anybody have objection to, and the reason I'm asking is because if everybody is okay with that just being sort of a procedural thing that they all do, and then y'all get the answers, we could still potentially start our jury selection on the 24th without, if the attorneys aren't going to be there anyway, and we already know what the questionnaire is going to say and what the instructions are going to say, we can have them start going through that process and then not actually worry about the fact that Mr. Dark has a leave-in. What do y'all think about that?
Well, Your Honor, as far as the last matter of jury selection, Mr. Eppinger was part of that at that time, and the attorneys were present while the jurors viewed the video. We were all upstairs in the jury room.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. That's my mistake. Then I had met with jury services earlier this week, and I guess their recollection was that nobody was there, but
Oh, no, Your
I
Honor,
stand corrected.
We were all convened up in the jury services room.
Okay.
And we were there while the jurors watched the video, where we were able to observe they're watching the video, because there are some jurors that other attorneys may mention were asleep during the video, on their phones during the video, or had left out. So that is one reason.
Okay.
I believe it was Mr. Steele that brought it up, that the attorneys needed to be there to observe these things
Okay.
from the jury to assist us in our jury selection process.
All right. So were the attorneys there when the jurors were filling out y'all didn't, I'm sorry, y'all didn't do that with TAP.
They had the
I was
questionnaire.
talking about, I was not, I'm sorry. I'm being confusing. I wasn't talking about this case. I was talking about Judge Cox's case, where they did it with the tablets. That's what they all ended up deciding. And I'm wondering if we could decide something similar. But, I mean, we don't have to. If we all want to be in some courtroom somewhere.
Well, Your Honor, the last time when we went through the process, there were 28 people in this room, so there were logistics issues and things of that nature. And if the state is going to parse down the indictment, I don't believe that the video will be 4 hours as it was the last time. So I don't have an objection to showing the video as we did last time and proceeding with the same process.
Your Honor, and previously, everyone was present for the watching of the video, but when they filled out the jurors' questionnaires, we were not present.
Okay.
The jurors were in a separate room. They filled out the questionnaires, and no parties were present during the questionnaire portion, only the viewing of the video, which was the reading of the indictment.
And all that happened during the video was the reading of the indictment?
That is correct.
Okay, so were there any I would propose to give some basic preliminary instructions, I was thinking via video, prior to them even getting handed a tablet by jury services and told, here's your jury questionnaire, you're just doing it on a tablet instead of in writing. Would anybody have an issue with that?
That's what occurred. So the video was first. So the video with some preliminary instructions, the reading of the indictment happened first, and then maybe that following Monday, I believe, jurors came in and they filled out the questionnaires without us. So the video happened first.
All right. I am not wanting to make jurors come back 3 and 4 and 5 different times. I'm thinking it is not going to be a 4-hour video, is probably not even going to be a 1-hour video. I would like for it to be a summary of the indictment, since they're going to hear the whole indictment later anyway, just like this is a case about whatever we all determine it will say it's about. And then just the preliminary. It's a criminal case, defendants have a presumption of innocence, you need to be honest on your questions, that kind of thing. And then have jury services say, here's the tablets. Are y'all thinking you want to be present for that? And it's fine if you do, you have a right to be.
For the video, Judge?
Yeah.
Yes. I think it would be.
Okay, all right. Given that, then I probably won't do it as a video. If we're all going to be present anyway, I'll probably just sit there and read the instructions to them. Because what's the point of the video if we're all there? Okay.